Ang susunod na programa ay rated PG. Ito ay nangangailangan ng patnubay at gabay ng magulang para sa mga batang manonood.
Warning. The following content may contain elements that are not suitable for some audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Gone but definitely not forgotten. The remarkable lost soul of Bali at Cowling, now buried beneath millions of tons of earth dislodged during the Great Earthquake of 1999. Photos are all taken in 1993. The Ferris wheel and the rocket ride at the abandoned theme park above Bitan, Sindian, photo taken around 1995. Last Christmas, while clearing out heaps of junk in my bedroom back in the UK, I came across several boxes of old print photos from various world travels in the early 1990s, along with some photos from my earliest years in Taiwan almost 2 decades ago, among tourist must-sees such as Wulai Waterfall, Sun Moon Lake, Taroko Gorge, and the Liu. However, I found photos of two places which will be far less familiar to the majority of Taiwanese expats, for the simple reason that for completely different reasons, neither of them exists anymore. The Lost Soul Valley, Kowloon, Yunlin County. The mountain village of the Kowloon, or rather its amazing surrounding scenery, has been one of the favorite places in Taiwan ever since I first visited it the summer I came to Taiwan, 1983. Indeed, after accidentally setting up a copy of the Lonely Planet Taiwan Guide, written by WebStories way back on those days, in a bookshop while working on London's Oxford Street in 1992, it was partly a map of Kowloon marked with such a fascinating sounding places as a water curtain cave, the Great Steep Wall, and the Lost Soul Valley that made me consider coming to Taiwan in the first place. That first summer Taiwan, I took a bus from Yunlin to Kowloon and spent 2 days exploring its wonders, finishing off first day with a long walk down a narrow road to a unique Lost Soul Valley. This strange place was sort of a gorge created by a vast slippage of the land, possibly caused by the same earthquake that created that spring and the autumn cliffs nearby, forming a narrow, overgrown gorge that was, according to the dimensions listed in an old guidebook, about 30 meters wide, 40 meters deep, and 200 meters long. In several spots, wispy waterfalls trickled over the cliffs, which were topped by the pine trees, giving the place an even more impressive look of fantasy. Heading back to Kowloon village after my visit, it was already getting dark, and I was lucky enough to get picked up by the couple of farmers in an early personal example of that amazing Taiwanese hospitality towards Westerners. Visit Kowloon today and most of its wonderful sights, Water Curtain Cave, the lofty Penglai Waterfall, Tong Sin Waterfall, and the Heart Rocks, the Frog Rock, Great Steep Wall, seem to have changed a little apart from improvements in the trails connecting them. Where Lost Soul Valley and the spring and autumn cliffs once rose, however, the mountainside has been pulverized as if by some vast steamroller into huge, desolate, flat slope dropping down to the shore of the Clearwater River hundreds of meters below. Kowloon was one of the places worst hit during the Great Earthquake of September 21st, 1999, and during that terrible minute or two, the whole summit of Kowloon Mountain became dislodged and slid down the mountainside, burying both Lost Soul Valley and the spring and autumn cliffs. The remains of the peak now lie several hundred meters below, near the base of the lodge. The desolated site of Lost Soul Valley and the surrounding area is now the Kowloon Geopark, with a monument and several plaques explaining something in the magnitude of the event. On my last several visit years ago, vegetation had started to grow back and smooth the devastated hillside. Ironically, the lost spring and the autumn cliffs were the product of an earlier great earthquake, which struck in 1941. Many people, I was told on my last visit to the geopark, died in a huge landslide of 1999, and locals stay away from that area for fear of ghosts. We can only be grateful though that the landslide didn't occur a kilometer or two up to the valley, or the whole village of the Kowloon might have been engulfed. The old fairground Bitan near Taipei. View from the top of the maintenance ladder up to the Ferris wheel in the abandoned theme park. The little wood ridge called Hemei Hill that rises directly above the suspension bridge at the Bitan at the southern terminus of Taipei's MRT line has been redeveloped. New paths have been put in, and it's become a favorite spot for short walks among locals and something for a nature reserve with a rich selection of butterflies, plus fireflies in season. 2 decades ago, though, a large fairground stood on its slope, culminating in an impressive Ferris wheel at the highest point of the theme park, which could have been seen from many places in Sindian. Even today, there are still plenty of memories of the fairground, including the abandoned shuttle train that once took punters up and down to the approach road, several ruined buildings, and the remains of the original paths. 15 years and more ago, though, this was one of the best adult playgrounds in the Taipei area, as the entire abandoned fairground, although slowly rusting away, was freely open to anyone. These photos were taken back around 1995, when in an earlier, smaller scale version of my present hiking club, I used to take roommates living with me at the Happy Family Hostel near the train station, in a building that is now long gone. On hiking trip onto spots around Taipei, the undoubted highlight of the trip here was the big Ferris wheel. It was possible to enter the huge cylindrical wheel supports and climb to 50 to 20 meters up the maintenance ladders inside the tubes, the emerging into daylight way above the ground and the central axis of the wheel. In the ghost house. After one visit, we ran into a local English-speaking woman who told us that the park had closed several years before after someone died when a car on the Ferris wheel came adrift. I've since heard several different stories as to what happened. Whatever it was resulted in Taipei's most extraordinary sights, which is sadly demolished over a period of several years, over a decade ago. Looking out from the platform which still exists below the Ferris wheel.